we attend people from all over Northeast Arkansas, and at this time we do not have a intensive care neonatal unit. When we're talking of a level 3 nursery, we're talking of a nursery specially equipped with equipment, trained personnel, trained neonatologist, a doctor that just takes care of critically ill newborn. Level 3 would take care of an extremely premature baby, desperately ill newborn baby, baby with congenital anomalies, and so forth. At this time, we cannot do that here, meaning that premature babies or critically ill newborns have to be transferred to Little Rock, Memphis, or some distant city for their care, which places tremendous stress on the families.
Trey wasn't with me. He had been to every other appointment ever, but on that particular one, he wasn't with me, and they looked and they found one, and then they found two, and then they found three, and then I made them stop and go get Trey because I was afraid they were going to find more. So we weren't doing fertility. We don't have any family history of multiples, so it was a very big shock.
And right after that, the doctor, talking with about the future of the pregnancy and how the pregnancy might go, recommended immediately that we see a doctor in Memphis that he knew, because he did consider it a high-risk pregnancy. And so from that point forward, well, really, for the next 6 months, Jenna spent once a week going back and forth to Memphis for doctor visits to monitor the pregnancy.
So I went to my local doctor here in Jonesboro, and we, at that time, found out we were carrying triplets. From that point, I actually talked to Jenna Stafford, who suggested that I go to a specialist in Memphis because there wasn't a NICU unit here, and we weren't prepared to have multiples here in Jonesboro.
The 34-week mark, according to them, is kind of the cutoff as far as what do you do? Could we deliver them here if they had some breathing problems, or were we going to have to go to Little Rock to deliver? So after about 36 hours of trying to make that decision, Dr. Sams finally came in and said, I don't feel comfortable saying that the babies are definitely going to be able to be delivered here and stay here. And so I want to send all of you to Little Rock so that at least when you deliver, we know you're a long way from home, but at least when you deliver, you're going to be there with the babies.
And so we left our doctor in Jonesboro, who we knew and had hoped to deliver with at that point, and began seeing a doctor over there. And as we got closer to delivering, he suggested that we come in every 3 days, was it?
We did go twice a week.
Twice a week. And so we were driving back and forth, or I was. At the time I was working, and I would have to, take a half day off and drive back and forth.
I had to go into the hospital over in Memphis about 4 weeks before I had the babies, and it was just so that I could be close to the NICU when they came. I couldn't be in Jonesboro because I could have had them any minute during those 4 weeks. I mean, they were doing extraordinary measures to keep me from having those babies. And so during those 4 weeks, it was really hard to be over there because Trey was here with Ellie. She was only 2 years old. I was working at the time from home, and my job was here. Trey had a full-time job, and it was really, really hard being over in that hospital so I could be near the NICU in Memphis with all of my family in Jonesboro. And they would come when they could, but for the most part, it was me alone in that hospital, pregnant with 3 babies, and it was really hard.
I was very scared. I didn't want to leave home. I didn't want to leave my family and my parents. We knew that we wanted everyone there for our delivery, and this was the middle of the night. We had to call everyone and get them on the road and get them to Little Rock, and I wanted to make sure they made it before the babies were born. It was such an emergent situation. I had my C-section within 15 minutes of arriving at the hospital.
Well, when the babies were born, they were of course premature, and so they spent time in the NICU. And Trayson and John David were there for 2 weeks, and Chaz was there for 3 weeks. He was the smallest. And so that period of time was, Jenna was completely committed to being there with them. There were certain periods of the day where the mom could visit.
After several days of being in the hospital, I was told they were going to dismiss me, but the babies were not ready to be dismissed. So then we had issues trying to decide what we were going to do. If I was not able to stay at the hospital, where was I going to stay and for how long? Because each day they couldn't tell me how long the babies were going to be there.
And then, you know, one of the saddest days of my life was the day that I came home from the hospital without any babies.
It was really sad in that NICU in Memphis to see how many babies were there with no moms to visit them. They were completely in the care of the nurses because the moms were in Jonesboro, all over this area, having their babies in Memphis, and could not be there to take care of their babies. They had other responsibilities, jobs, and other children back at home. So that's why it's so important to have a NICU in your own town where you can do that back and forth and be there with your babies, but then still be able to take care of the business of your life without having your babies an hour or 2 hours away.
Not very many families can make provisions to where for 4, 6, 8, 10, up to 12 weeks, they can just shut down life, be away from their job, you know, give up any revenue, any income, and spend all their time in Little Rock or in Memphis caring for their newborn that's still in the hospital. Now, if the baby's here in Jonesboro and they're just a few miles from home, that's a lot different and could be managed for a family a lot better.
These are all things that you should not have to think about at this point. The only thing that you want to be thinking about is, are my babies healthy? Is my wife healthy? And you can do that if you have a NICU here, if you have an intensive care unit here, then all that worry is put aside and you can worry about what you should be worrying about, which is your kids.
They were wonderful. The physicians were amazing and the nurses were awesome. They took care of our babies. They kept us informed of every single thing that was going on. They made sure we were involved with every feeding, diaper changing. As much as we wanted to be involved, they let us. They were an amazing team, and it would be awesome to have that here in Jonesboro at St. Bernard's so that you could experience that here at home and have that wonderful level of care.
This is a very, very, very expensive medical facility. Very expensive equipment, very expensive to take care of this kind of baby. It's one-on-one care. Without raising the money for this nursery, we simply can't have it. We're fortunate to be able to work in partnership with Children's to provide the expertise, but we have to raise the money to do this. Without raising significant money, we cannot have this kind of a medical facility.